back again. Or yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, Shady's back. Tell a friend. We all know.
Yeah. That's the one. That's the one. All right. So we are back, and we're gonna get right into it after Katie introduces the podcast.
Oh, so quick. Hi, everyone. Welcome to All the Films We Judged Before. I'm Katie. Yes, that is in fact Lily Kay. Huzzah!
It's me. It's
We had 2
me.
episodes come out last week, and neither of us were in both of them.
Yeah. Sometimes that happens. Anyway, we are together again, so
Yeah.
that's always fun and celebratory and everything. So like, yay! Anyway, this is our last episode for this year, so
Yeah, no
we
episode next week because it's Christmas and
it's
we're busy.
yes, you have to celebrate and just be with the fam and friends, and loved ones and whatever all that stuff. So we're gonna do the usual thing, which is ranking the best and the worst of this year, which is always very exciting. It's always very fucking hard, which it's not nice. Please don't be this hard. I just told Katie that like this year felt really empty, but at the same time, looking back at it now, it just feels very full with good stuff and bad stuff equally. So it wasn't easy to put this together. That's where I'm getting at.
My top TV shows list, I put down 3 things and was like, yeah, I feel good about that. And then I went, hang on a second, and then put about 6 other things down that I could have said.
Yeah,
And then I
I'm the same.
replaced one of them that I wasn't sure about with a different one that I felt way better.
Yeah, I basically just with the top 3 movies I played around with the ranking, and sometimes I swapped out movies, so it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. So we definitely gonna have honorable mentions. Let's just put it this way. Yes, there are a few for sure.
But in the other side of that, I found it really hard to do any worse stuff. Like I genuinely was having a real hard time about it.
Yeah, I didn't. To be fair, it was just such a clear line of like, this was good, this is shit. Well,
I've gone
disappointing most
for
of the
and
time.
as I've mentioned to just before we started, as opposed to worst, I've gone for disappointments. Things that I found to be
It
mid.
still counts. Yeah,
As opposed to being like this is actively bad.
yeah,
Which some of them, to be fair, are they are bad.
yeah.
I think the third one that I've got on here is more an active disappointment as opposed to actually being a bad movie.
That's fair.
But the
That's fair.
TV shows I was fucking struggled with, man. I really honestly was looking at like, I watched a lot of good TV this year.
Which is good, but like it was easy for me to put together like the TV show, the worst ones, because it was like so clear, such a clear line. I was like, this, done. That's it. It helps that I am always taking notes of everything that I'm watching, and I'm rating them as after I watch them. So it was easier this way, and I still remember the fucking worst ones, so that also helped.
I have a feeling you and I might have. I was gonna say we might have the same worst one, but I honestly don't know.
Maybe it's
I went back through.
possible.
You know what I did? I went back through our episodes to go and be like, what the hell did we talk about this year?
Then maybe it's a possibility. So I think let's get the bad out of the way, and let's start with the worst TV shows
Oh
of
god,
this
you mean
year.
my actually not very well put together list?
Okay,
That's
then
really not ranked properly.
I'm gonna start then.
Because
That's
I've got a
okay.
clear number one, but the other two I'm just like I just put these on here.
Okay. So my number 3, because we're going backwards, so make it more interesting. My number 3 is a little bit of a surprise, but not really, because looking back at it and thinking about it more, I'm like, I am heavily disappointed at the end of the day, and it's Sex Education 4.
Oh, Sex Education is in my bit. It's in my honorable mentions. Good shows. I liked it a lot.
No, I didn't. It was looking back at it, it's a mess. Like, putting all of those storylines in there for the last fucking season. Like, why the fuck would you do that? I understand that they got cancelled out of nowhere in a way, and they had a lot of things to
Sorry,
deal
just
with.
the way you went cancelled made it sound like the show was like, social media cancelled as opposed to just like it's just axed.
I didn't mean it like that. But yeah, like they talked about it, like they planned for 5 seasons, and then they were told that they're only going to get 4 seasons or something like that. I don't remember the story exactly, and it shows very heavily. And I can only point out a few good things about this season. Like, Otis is going through the same usual things that he's
Yeah.
always going through, not a single thread of character development for him at all. Thinking back at it, I don't like Eric's storyline now.
See,
I'm like,
that is the reason it's on my honorable mentions
oh,
list. That
no,
entire thing is, I love it.
no,
It
I
moved
don't.
me so much.
I don't. I love the acting, obviously, because it's fucking great. But I just, looking back at it, and I did listen to Friendly Space Ninja's entire video essay on it, and I have to agree with him. I'm like, ugh, fuck, you're right. But I do love Adam's storyline and his dad, and I kind of wish that he was with the group while all that was happening. Like, I feel like that the way they decided to separate basically all of the main characters that we followed so far was a bit weird. uh I think Dan Levy deserves so much more than what he got in there. And it just, looking back at it and comparing it to, because I think that's very important, the fantastic first two seasons, because those were amazing. It's just, it's a mess. It's just too convoluted, and they wanted to put too many things in there. The new characters were annoying. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still on that board where I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, nothing behind their characters. So I'm like, no, no, I'm disappointed. Altogether, it's one of those shows where I'm disappointed
You're
with this
disappointed.
final
That's fair.
season. Yeah,
I still really liked it. I found it very powerful. I think it's the season that has made me cry the most, genuinely. So yeah,
probably me as well. But like, yeah, looking back
but
at
like
it,
you have to remember, you cry at everything. I don't actually cry that much at stuff,
that's true.
and it really got me in a lot of ways. And I think the sensitivity that they went and discussed gender dysmorphia and everything that Cal went through was honestly some of the best I've seen it done so far.
Yeah, but it was underdeveloped, and like, very
It's
heavily.
it.
Like, it needed more space and more breathing
I'm not
space.
saying that the season was without flaws, but I do
Yeah.
think it did a lot for it. Like it didn't do enough like things that were like wrong with it for me to feel like it wasn't good. If you know what I
Mm.
mean. Um.
No,
Yeah.
that's understandable. But I'm like, once again, the topics were great, but I wish they wouldn't have left it for the last season. Like, it just felt like new
Yeah. No,
school,
that's
new
fair.
characters, new, and everything just felt like like this.
No,
I
that's
don't
fair.
have a better way to explain it. So altogether, I am disappointed in Sex
Understandable.
Education season 4. So what is your number 3?
I think I'm going to say for my number 3, I mean, because we didn't get a chance to talk about this, this
Yes.
would be a great time.
Okay.
I'm putting Gen V on here because it fucked me off.
Hell no. But I will hear you out.
It's for most of the stuff that I try to explain to you in text and to the audience. I'll try to explain. I feel like this franchise is doing the exact same thing over and over again in every season it tries to create, and it's starting to really annoy me. In that it feels like to me that they've set up this like internal conflict within world wherein there are two sides to a conflict and nobody is looking at the middle ground, and anybody who even dares look at the middle ground of this sort of thing, in that I'm saying like Vought is terrible because they are the catalyst sort of like marketing ploy thing that puts all these people on top, and perpetuates a cycle of power and violence, in that they are the ones pushing for the sense of like um you know, these are the people you should care about, all that sort of thing. And I totally get that. The flip side to it that I find very irritating now is that people who aren't in those positions of power are just going around doing the same things over and over again. In that, like, all the soups are just like, well, we're not being represented properly, and also humans are terrible, and we think they should all die. And I'm just starting to get really annoyed by it. In that I was really enjoying the season up until the episode after what's her name? The blonde hair.
Um, Kate. Yeah, no, not
Kate.
Kate.
No,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
Kate.
Kate.
But it's
Sorry, yeah.
Kate, but it's spelt with a C. That's
Yes.
what it was. I really enjoyed that whole thing where they were trying to help her. the flip that then she has into oh, I want to help you guys now because I'm really like, and it's not, I'm not saying that it doesn't work. Like, it is well written in like everything that they've done makes sense. I just don't enjoy it. It just feels like we're going round in circles, and it's like Soups are the bad guys, but also they're not the bad guys because they're just being set up to be the bad guys, but also they are the bad guys because they want to kill everybody because they have all this power. And then all the humans are like, Soup's terrible, so we should kill all the Soups. And then it all just keeps perpetuating this thing. And it, like, every time some character goes, this seems weird, maybe we should just do neither of these things, they get absolutely fucked. And I haven't seen anybody in the middle ground gain any sort of sense of like ground and like nuance in the conversation that they've kind of kept trying to have in the show. And it's really annoying me, and I want somebody with a level of like, okay, I see where you're coming from and I see where you're coming from, and maybe we can have a conversation that doesn't require us delving into, by the end of it, a massive bloodbath.
But then it wouldn't be the boys and Gen V. You know,
But like, it can still have some of that, but it needs to have, like, at this point, we've had so much of it. Altogether, that's 4 seasons worth of show where nothing has changed.
That's not true. I don't agree with that. Like, you know, like the whole that first of all, in Jambi, there is no human storyline, basically, if we put it that way.
Human storyline.
There is, but like that it's not that important. Then
But
it is
it is
important for
monumental
this.
to the entire season because it's the thing that forces everything into and not in the fact that there are human characters that are monumental. It's that the humans doing stuff are monumental to the characters of the show. Like, the reason people start like become who they are by the end of the season is because of human experiments.
Yes, but that's the whole point of the boys and Jambi storyline. Like, you know, it's like we created these superpowered beings, but at the same time we fear them, obviously, because this
Right,
I don't remember her name, but
the
the
woman
main
who yeah.
yes, because obviously we find out that she had enough because her husband and her kid died on the plane. Then Homelander fucking just left behind in
Sure.
season 1, which is like fucking brilliant. I was like, okay, yeah, she has her reasons. And she's planning on killing all the Soups, and I think she's the most effective so far with coming up with a virus that can, you know, only kill the Soups, which will be huge for the boys, I believe. And I think altogether, like looking at it from the perspective of the Soups in here, and not to mention the very young ones as well, who are only now just discovering just like being a teenager, and on top of that having superpowers and how to handle those superpowers. It was refreshing how they went about it, and how they showed, like, you know, they can already see how fucked up the entire thing is, because by the end they realize that they are not there to study. They are there to be experimented on by the company who gave them the fucking superpowers. And it's like, okay, how do you deal with that? You deal with it like that. I would also like to say that still, this adaptation is just so much better than what it adapted because
Okay.
the comics are just awful. They don't have, like, you know, any character development, anything at all. It's just literally just
So what you're saying, if I
nothing
got
at all.
annoyed at this, I just shouldn't go anywhere close to the comics.
No, nowhere close. Nowhere
Cool.
close to the comics at all, because it's like it's just
I can see how
bloody.
the things that I'm starting to get irritated by in the show could
Yeah.
absolutely come from a place of the comics. I
Oh yeah.
just want some kind of, I'm looking for somebody to feel like they have like that they can move in the plot. Like, they can move stuff in the plot that is looking at things from a sense of like, you know, Soups are just people with superpowers. They're not like aliens. They still have the ability to feel emotions. And like,
Yeah, but of course, but also it was revealed in, I think it was in season 3 or season 2, that it does change you once you get the, what is it called? I
the
can't think.
the compound,
Yes.
because they're called, that's Gen V.
Yes, compound V. Yeah.
Compound V.
If
That's
if
it.
if it enhances your emotions, usually the negative ones. That's why Butcher and Huey were both
Oh.
awful uh, once they got in.
See, I don't think that's clear anymore.
I think it is.
Because, like, I mean, like, it's not like I've been watching this, year to year. It's not. I forgot that. If that's going to be something that's going to be important to the way that people play out, I think it should be more prevalent within, like, actually how people talk about things.
But I think that's why season 3 was very important for the boys, because it showed through them, like, it enhanced all the wrong things about them. Basically,
And
Butcher became a bigger asshole.
I've still got my annoyances for season 3 as well. Though, to be fair,
I still think it's brilliant, and I'm so looking forward to season 4. I'm like, yes.
Also, as much as I think that Anthony Starr does a brilliant job as Homelander. That cameo did not work for me at all. Like, I know why it was there, and I could see the point, but to me, it felt like they were playing into the exact thing that they were kind of satirizing, in that they were like, "Hey, look, and a guy that you know in a different thing showed up," and I'm like, "Okay, this just kind of pisses me off more than anything else." Like, I know why you're doing it, but also this doesn't fit. It fits it right to me. But also by that point, I'd already been pissed off by a bunch of the other stuff that happened in the plot, so I was just like, "No, no, thank you."
Let's agree that we disagree on this.
No, that's fair, and I think it just annoyed me more than anything else.
Also, we should mention that you watched it in a state where you
Oh
shouldn't
yes,
have
I
watched
was
it.
not doing great.
Yeah, yeah, you probably shouldn't have watched this. At that
But like,
point, to be honest.
at the time, we was like, well, we're gonna be recording, and it was like there was no way there was no winning for me in this
Yeah,
situation.
yeah, no. All right, let's jump to number 2.
Also, real quick, I want to point
Yes.
out that I've specifically left something off this list because I think you would kill me if I actually included it on here.
Do I want to know?
No.
Okay, now you said it. Now it annoys me already.
It's not on the list though, so
You have to talk about it after.
okay.
All right. My number 2 is going to annoy a lot of people, but I don't care. It was a fucking disappointment, and I think it was very bad. It's Shadow and Boone season 2. I'm sorry.
To be fair, it's not on either of my lists.
Yeah.
It was a mess. To be fair,
it's a very big mess.
I'm still annoyed they cancelled it though, because that is a fucking crime. In that no, listen to me. Fun fact, I've got some insider knowledge here. I spoke to somebody at a networking event who used to work for Netflix in a pretty high position, who told us literally about a month or two before it was announced that they cancelled the show, that the reason that they weren't continuing on with it was because it didn't do well in North America, and that was the only reason. And like, I just feel that spin-off should have had time to breathe, especially if you look at the numbers now. It did great, like, numbers wise. Like, if you look at the Netflix ratings, it was 15th in the world in those first 6 months. There's no reason they should have cancelled it, other than like, oh, it just didn't do well in the way that we've sort of arbitrarily decided things need to fit. So it is stupid. It's
well, yeah, looking at it number wise, it is stupid, and
and it's like they're not canceling it based on how good it is. Let's be funny, because the amount of shit that Netflix has made and then made more of.
Yeah, but probably the numbers there as well will, like, I think it's never about, like, is it good or not good on, like, a critical side. It's more like, are we happy with the numbers or not? And I'm sure they have, like, some kind of quotas that they need to reach to put it like this.
Have you heard about, there was a show, I can't remember what it was called, it was something babysitters, I think, about, like, I can't remember.
Babysitters Club?
Might have been that.
Yeah.
That was doing really well per Netflix's numbers.
Okay.
And then their next season got cancelled because it was in between the I think first and second season came out. Squid Game came out. And Squid Game was such an insane runaway hit that it moved all of their numbers up, basically. And they went, well, if it's not doing as well as Squid Game, it's not worth it. Which is just an insane bar.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Yeah. I don't
There's
know.
a
I
bunch of
never.
like, there's a bunch of things in the politics of the way that Netflix renews shows or doesn't renew shows that is literally insane. And I said to you when Shadow and Bone season 2 came out, I was like, I'm aware all of this is not good, but I'm kind of ignoring it.
Yeah, but you know, and I'm not gonna blame you for it or say that you're stupid if because you're enjoying it. I'm not gonna say that, but I'm like, it was so bad. Like literally, is that it's the kind of bad that it's like just bad, and it's not bad in a good way, if that makes sense. Like there are these raunchy movies that are we know it's bad, but it's fun and still enjoyable. Like most of the rock movies, let's be fair. like but this was just bad on all level, and I'm saying this after reading all of the books that are integrated in it. The fact that they
Integrated them in the first place is insane.
it's yeah, that's one thing. The second thing is season 2 would logically should follow the second book of
Yeah.
this series. Instead, it follows the second and the third one. They just went, okay, let's throw everything in here, and I went, wait, what?
It's like I don't disagree with it. It was such a mishmash, and I still don't quite understand why they decided to play the end of Crooked Kingdom before they did literally any of the first or the second book in the Six of Crows storyline. But I still wanted a Six of Crows show. Like, I still think they
Which
should
is
have.
yeah, I'm I still want to see that. I'm not going to say I don't, because I think it could work really well if and that's very important, if they are only touching that, and that's
That
it.
and that should have been the way it should have been since
Yes.
the beginning.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that they're all friends. They're all really cute together. I got to see Jack Wolf on stage this year, and he's an incredible singer, by the way. Really was amazing in Next to Normal, and I was very, very happy to see him doing well. But it's one of those things we could just sort of like, why did you do it like this?
Yeah, I just don't really understand the logic behind it, if I'm honest, because I truly think like Shadow and Bone in itself could have worked perfectly fine. Like it's a good material to turn into a series, like as it is, and Six of Crows is a great material to turn into a series
Six
as
of
it
Crows
is.
honestly would have worked so well just on its own because
Exactly.
they are stronger books anyway.
Yeah. Oh,
Just straight
100%.
up,
100%. Yeah.
they are stronger books. But now we never get to see Mateus with everybody. Poor guy's still in jail.
Yeah.
Although, spoiler alert, he does get to still be alive.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like,
Which is kind of nice. Now he can never die.
yeah. It's I don't know. It was just I felt that it was like really, really bad. And I'm not, not acting wise. I'm not saying that the actors did
Everybody in it was
bad.
brilliant.
Everyone was great still. They put everything in there basically. So I didn't have a problem with that, but it's just the script. Some of the lines were so stupid. I was like, the fuck is happening with this show? Like it got to the point, and it's very rare for me. Like it needs to be either very boring or very bad, where there were parts where I didn't even pay attention at all. I just found myself being like, because I hate when people do this. This is like one of my pet peeves. I fucking hate it when we watch something and I see a friend, family member, whatever, just being like, and that's it. And I'm like, why are you on your phone? Fucking watch what we're watching and then be in the moment. When it's bad or very boring, I do the same. And that's how I know like it's just not clicking with me. So I literally watched the second half of the entire season while I was drawing. So I wasn't really paying attention to it because I was like, oh, God.
There are some bits in that second season that I really, really loved. The whole and that I actually thought were quite inventive in terms of like adding things into the story. I really like that whole bit where they break into that woman's house and then they all start hallucinating their various like thing. I think it could have been fleshed out in a couple more places, and it a bit. I loved Kaz's, and I loved everything about Jesper's whole thing where he got to speak to his mother.
Yeah.
And I loved Wyland just being like, "Wow, look at these butterflies! Here, guys, eat these."
Yeah, but
That's the most
it's like,
encapsulation of like that boy that I've ever seen in my life.
yeah, but if you looking at that, and that's my brother, so I can talk on this. If you're watching this without ever reading the books, it just doesn't really do anything for you. Like, I understand why it was good for you and why I might have enjoyed it, but like for someone who never touched the books, it's like, okay. Like, my brother literally said that he really enjoyed the first season. I will put it out there, not reading the books or anything. And then he watched the second one and he was like, well, it didn't do anything like at all. Like, he couldn't connect with anyone. It was very rushed. It was way too many people in there. And I'm like, yep. Yeah, because there are people in there that shouldn't be in it at all. And I will say this one last time. The way they fucking killed the sea serpent was ridiculous. I was so
Like, they kill the here's the thing, they kill the sea serpent very early on in the second book, generally speaking.
yeah,
But the
but not like
second
this.
book the second book then becomes a political thriller.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But like, and they didn't kill it like this, and wasn't that like
The entire
menacing or
storyline about
anything.
Lena becoming like actually a saint to the people, and like everything with the apparat just
Oh yeah, they
disappeared.
just put it out on the window. Anyway, talked about it too much. It's my number 2. Very disappointing. I will just bluntly say that it's bad done. Sorry, fans. I also read the books. I love the books, but it's a no for me. 6 of course could still happen, please. Like,
Yes, please.
I'm interested in that.
Please don't uncancel the spin-off. Just give us
Yeah.
the spin-off. Like,
Yeah,
we all want
that's it. That's it.
It will do well.
Yeah. What's your number 2?
My number 2, I don't know if you ever got around to watching this, but it's Our Flag Brings Death season 2.
No, I haven't watched it yet.
So I watched all of it, and it did this thing for me where because it released the first 3 episodes, and they did it in 2 episode chunks, I think. Yeah. Am I lying? I think that's how it happened.
I don't know. I can't
Maybe
speak on it.
Maybe it was 3 episode chunks. I honestly can't remember. The first 3 episodes I watched, and it felt a little bit like I was watching fan fiction, and I don't think that was in a particularly good way.
Oh.
Lots of people loved it, by the way. A lot of people online absolutely adored it, but I think it kind of got me back. It felt a lot more like the first season in the next few episodes that I really enjoyed. Like, that middle bit, I was like, actually, this is quite fun and enjoyable, and I'm really liking a lot of it. By the last 2 episodes, it just like, and I don't blame anybody making the show for this. I think they did the best they could with what they had, because they moved to New Zealand.
Okay.
So everything in it looks gorgeous, but it's very much, it like feels very plain that they were like, we're giving you less money, less episodes to make things in. So the entire season feels so rushed. You get to episode 8 and you're like, what do you mean this is over? It's just like, it is like, by those last 2 episodes, it is a mess.
Yeah.
Like, it just like, there's so many things in it that I really liked, which is why I'm like super disappointed by it. Because like I said, I think it did 3 episodes, 2 episodes, if I remember correctly. I honestly can't remember. It might have been 3 episodes, 2 episodes. I can't fucking. It's been a few months. But yeah, those middle 3 episodes were so fun. They had some great character development in there. They've got some new people in, which I feel great. But at the same time, they left out some like pretty, like, not even major characters, but like Paul Khan got like sacked from the first season. There's a lot of rumors around it suggesting that it was because of some views that he said on the internet. I'm not going to give that credence or anything, because I don't think there's any confirmation of whether or not that's true. But you can tell that the budget has been massively squeezed, because there's a bunch of people in episodes that only turn up for like half of it, and then they disappear for half the season. Ewan Brenner, the Scottish guy, Buttons.
Yes.
He's in like the first 3 episodes, and then he turns into a seagull, and then you don't see him again. It was very funny, to be fair. The whole thing was quite funny, but like you can tell they were just sort of like, we don't have the budget to actually pay all of our actors to be in all of the episodes.
Oh.
So like, they've got other people in that they can pay less to do, to be in, because they're new characters, so they don't have to negotiate quite as high a pay. And the whole thing just felt like kind of blur by the end of it. Which is just such a shame, because it really is such a lovely show, and everybody in it is brilliant, and when it's good, it is so fun. a little spoiler alert for the people watching who haven't seen it, if anything. But dear Lucius does come back up. He's not dead, and is,
Okay.
I think, my favorite part of the entire season. Nathan
Okay, good.
Fode is so funny. I I think he's genuinely my favorite part of the entire thing.
Yeah,
Every
yeah, yeah,
time
yeah.
he's on screen, I'm like, I love you. This is the best.
Yeah.
And Taika and Reese do a really good job playing that whole love story
Mm,
thing
mm,
well.
mm.
I think it gets a little bit, like you said, it comes really rushed by the end because they sort of break up, get back together, break up, get back together. It's like a whole thing that just
Yeah,
really didn't work within like the short amount of time that they had.
yeah,
If they had gotten the 10 episodes they had in the first season, I think it would have been
mm,
miles better.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, this is kind of my disappointment because, like, again, it was messy.
Yeah, messy. Oh no. All right. We're right to number one.
Yeah, that's your number one.
It's like,
Can I
I'm.
guess? Because I think it might be the same as my first one as
You
well.
can guess.
Is it Secret Invasion by any chance?
It
Yeah,
is.
also my number one. And it was the easiest one I got down on paper. I was like, well, that obviously has to
Yeah.
be it
Um,
sucked.
I'm just so disappointed. Like this is. I said this as well previously. It's my first genuine disappointment in Marvel. I'm not gonna lie. Like very. I'm like, why? Why did you do it?
It was so boring.
Like this is because the Secret Invasion comic books are so fucking brilliant, and I'm like, maybe you should have stayed with that. Like,
You had Samuel L. Jackson. You got Olivia Colman in, and you still
and
managed to
Amelia
make
Clark.
a really boring show.
It's like, and the thing is, and that's more annoying than anything else, is that it had some genuinely good moments, which I think if they would have kept with that tone and conversation style, which I mean with Talos and Nick talking in the train, that scene was really good.
That was good.
Or where the first episode was genuinely like started off good, and then they went, okay, not anymore. We're just gonna rush everything here and just put
And we're gonna
everything
go
in there and just
super
like,
like hero MacGuffin. We'll make Amelia
yes,
Clark into truly everything, like
yes,
literally everything,
yeah,
in a way that is seriously boring.
yeah. And I'm like, I'm so disappointed.
It was not good.
No. So that's your first one as well.
That
Then.
was my first.
Okay, good.
And it was like the
Then
easiest one I put down on
yeah,
paper. The other two, I was like, I don't know what to put for this.
yeah.
Um,
So yeah, that's it. Done. I don't want to
Done.
talk about it
We don't
anymore.
need to talk about it anymore. It sucks.
I'm like, I'm so disappointed. It was my favorite comic run, so I'm like, I was very sad with it. Anyway, let's do the good stuff. Let's talk about the top 3 best TV shows. And let's start with number 3. I also changed this list many times, so I actually have like separate things here, but then I went and highlighted the one that I'm gonna go with. So I'm gonna follow this, but I do have honorable mentions
I was gonna
at the
say,
very end.
I'm gonna put this out here. This list is in flux and probably would change by the time that this episode goes out. Like it shifts around, and truly, to be honest, they're kind of all at number one. But I'm going to put them down in the order. I'm going to give them to you in the order that I got them. So I'll say the one I put down first, last, in that sort of sense. So like you can get a sense of like my immediate gut reaction. Put them down in this order, right? So I'll put as number 3, and it's what I was telling you about the other day. Fellow Travelers
Yes.
is genuinely one of the best things I've seen this year.
Okay.
It is stunning.
Mm.
Jonathan Bailey and Matt Bomer are incredible together. If you don't like watching sex scenes with your parents, don't watch this with anybody else in the room.
Wait, hold on. First of all, a question: who likes to watch sex?
Fair point. But like, if you're like actively to the point of being like, absolutely the fuck not, I need to know
Yeah.
in advance, like that there's a lot of sexual content in this series. And I'm gonna be honest, it's brilliant. It is
I'm
all
already
story
interested.
based.
Yes.
It is the most like, and I was thinking about like the way to word this the other night, because it is like it's the most realistic version of a gay relationship that I think I've ever seen on television. in all of the nuances that go into that, in the sexual politics of it, and the sex scenes aren't just there for like, oh look, it's raunchy. It tells you something constantly about both of those characters. It
Yeah.
normalizes things like kink and what the sort of dynamics of that kind of relationship are in like dominant submissive sort of stuff. And it doesn't like, what's the word, it doesn't make it seem deviant, which I think
Yeah.
happens quite a lot in like even in stuff that's like, oh, this is either they completely sanitize it so it's like, palatable for people who are a bit like a little, that kind of level of homophobic where they're like, it's fine,
Yeah.
but they're kind of swallowing it, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
As long as I don't have to see anything, sort of a vibe. It it all of those bits are on full display, and at no point do you feel like, oh, this is like weird or creepy or fucked up or anything like this. There's some like interesting power dynamic stuff that goes on between the two
Yeah.
characters that you're kind of, there are times where I was like, oh, I'm not sure how I feel about the way that this is like playing between these two people, but it's not like, it's not because they're gay.
Yeah.
It's about, well, it kind of is, but like in a different way. It's not like, oh, these types of people are inherently power hungry or like manipulative, etc., because they are this like, they might be like they're like a dom or something like that. It plays that way because like it plays on, because it starts in 1953 with, or maybe 1952, the early 50s anyway, with the rise of McCarthyism and what is known as the Lavender Scare, which was a thing alongside the Red Scare, in which they basically went, there are deviants within the government that we need to root out because they are the source of all evil, kind of a thing. And it kind of shows you like, here's like, you see both sides of like what it means to come out in that kind of time period. Not necessarily in the 50s, because that would have been like just that nobody would have done that. I'm sure people did come out in the 50s, but like it would have been like terrible for the both of them if either of that actually did. But so you can kind of understand where both characters end up coming from by the time they get to where they end up at the end of the 80s in the midst of the AIDS crisis. And I wept during the last episode, just fully wept. Like the last shot is so powerful, and like the reminder of just how much like an entire generation of queer people that we lost to the AIDS crisis because the governments just didn't do anything to, because it was like, oh well, these people are dirty, they deserve the dirty disease.
Yeah.
It's that whole thing, and it's just incredibly powerful. And I think it like Jonathan Bailey said something to this effect recently, where he was like, I do believe that all actors should be able to play parts of all kinds. I'm still a bit kind of iffy on that when it comes to trans people, just because we know where we are at in the society. But I have no problem with straight actors playing straight gay characters and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But the fact that all of our main players in this show are gay really adds a level of authenticity to the whole thing. And it's just stunning. It really is. And I was really looking forward to it when I find out about it, just because I have been a fan of Matt Bomer for a really long time. And then obviously I'm also a fan of Jonathan Bailey's, as we like to call him in my little friend group, Final Fantasy 14's Jonathan Bailey, because it's funny. But also I'm going to look up their names because they are fantastic, and I think they need also a shout out, because it also plays on, because it not only shows our main leads are two white gays, but we also have a little bit of what it means to be a lesbian. There's a couple of a couple of drag characters, and it also shows what it meant to be black in a lot of these spaces. So I want to give a shout out to the guy who plays Marcus and Frankie, because both of them were amazing, and I loved their relationship so much. Give me a second. Jelani Aladdin and Noah Ricketts, who play Marcus and Frankie, because they're stunning. Just both of them are incredible in it. But yeah, I really highly recommend it. You really should watch it, especially if you're at all interested in queer history, because it kind of puts the whole thing on display.
Yeah.
Especially in the US. I should be very specific. It is a very US centric thing.
Yeah. Awesome. My number 3 is, I will put this out immediately, is the only English speaking serious on
Okay.
this. And it's Ahsoka. I've been a fan of hers for a very, very long time, and now I know that just that facial expression just sold you out. That
Yeah, it did.
you
I did.
wanted
I
to
didn't
put it
even
on
try to
your.
hide it, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, I saw it. I fucking loved it. I truly stand by what I said. If you didn't listen to our podcast on the episode on Ahsoka, we have Elliot on, and you can find it on our Spotify. It's going to be in the links. Anyway, but I'm going to repeat it here. It's your criticism was that it feels like it's like it's not really. I can't hear you. You disappeared from my ear.
I whispered. It was like, you don't actually. It's fine. Keep going.
Yeah, anyway, I think it was brilliant. I think they did justice for not only Ahsoka's character but all of the rebels characters, and the fact that Throne is fucking Lars Mikkelsen is the best thing, one of the best things that happened this year, because that man is brilliant and he played Throne so brilliantly already in the Rebels, and he's the only one who can play him. I'm just gonna die on this hill. I don't care. The action was fantastic. I love the lightsaber duels. That episode 5 with Anakin and Ahsoka was beautiful, just beautiful. And Throne's arrival was the best in both sense. Like, when he first showed up in the TV series and when he got back into the galaxy. And I honestly can't wait, first of all, to see Ahsoka season 2, which I still strongly believe that it's just going to be Ahsoka and Sabine stranded on the other galaxy, and Dave Filoni's movie where, or maybe trilogy, we don't know yet, where Throne is going to be the main trend, and we're going to see some fan favorite Star Wars characters come to life for the first time, and I'm like, yes, please, bring it on. That's it.
I
That's
won't
number
rehash
3.
anything because I don't want to. This is part of the reason why I fully didn't put this on my list.
Yeah.
Because I knew you would just look at me like, how dare you? But I will say, there is a great video that Drew Gooden put out this month about Star Wars, which basically sums up everything I feel about some of the Star Warsy stuff. And I will point everybody in that direction to watch. If you want to get a sense of what my feelings are, watch that video, because that video sums it up truly. Like, I've never sat and watched a half an hour video and gone, yes, that's what I mean so much. I think it's brilliant. You may entirely disagree. In fact, you probably will. But I think that video pretty much sums up exactly how I feel about the whole thing. We don't need to go into it anymore.
Number 2. What is your
Number 2? I put The Bear season 2 as as the second one I wrote down. I mean, I was really looking forward to it anyway. I loved the first season of The Bear so fucking much. And season 2 really didn't disappoint. I'm glad that season 2 had more episodes, because so many shows are getting less episodes as they go on. This one had more episodes, which was more stuff, and some of them got to be longer. That episode 6 with the Christmas dinner is truly one of the most not even nerve-wracking, just like anxiety-inducing things I've ever seen in my life. Everybody in it is fucking tastic. That last confrontation at the dinner table where he's like threatening to throw that fork at Bo Odenkirk is just tension, perfect tension. Where you're literally sitting there like, don't throw the fucking fork, just don't do it. Everybody, it is amazing. It is infuriating in a way that I actually enjoy, as opposed to infuriating in a way that like this feels like bad writing. You know what I mean? In that, like, I feel like the characters are very distinct and like everything, like, they are frustrating in places, but I think like that makes them very human. I'm looking forward to season 3, which has been officially announced. I'm so happy about that, because I think everybody in it is brilliant.
Yeah. It wasn't surprising that they announced it, to be
No,
fair.
it's true. It wasn't entirely surprising, but you know how it is nowadays.
I
Where
know.
it's like you're
Like,
waiting for a season renewal, and you're like,
everyone is literally gushing about this TV show, so I wasn't surprised that there's going to be a season 3.
It's one of those things where I'm like, oh, thank God. But like, you can't be sure until somebody goes,
I know.
it's okay, and I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's stunning. I love everything about it. Even if I'm infuriated with everybody at the moment, but infuriated in a way that I'm like, be better.
True. Yeah. I watched it as well, both seasons, because it was really hard for me to watch to get into it at all. Like, I started watching it and I stopped at like maybe episode 2 or something like that. But I watched it. I am officially on board. And I definitely needed to get through that first 3 episodes because
Yeah.
no, that was I still feel like those are like not doing anything for me. And then as it got into the later things, I was like, yeah,
You can't deny that episode 7 of that first season isn't just like a piece
it's
of genius
yeah,
television.
yeah. Also, Will Porter was in it, and I love
Yeah,
Will
and Will
Porter.
Potter was so lovely.
He's my guy. He's my guy. So
Again,
like,
another show with Olivia Colman in a very small part that used her perfectly.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
That episode about Richie is genuine. It's up
so
there as
nice.
one of my favorites. It's so
Yeah,
wonderful.
it's yeah, it definitely warmed my heart. Alrighty.
Yeah.
My number 2 is
number 2. Another
I
Korean show.
Yes. And this was very hard because I've
Mhm.
been debating this so much. Like,
This is where I'm gonna
ever-
have to take notes so I can ask my mom if she's seen them.
yes. So I had to decide between 2 fantastic new shows from Korea. One of them was Mask Girl, which dealt with the Korean beauty standards and girls' dream to become a professional dancer.
Okay,
And it turned into the fucking greatest thriller that you're ever gonna watch. Basically,
Are we talking kind of Black Swan vibes, or maybe not that surreal, but like this
yeah,
obsession kind of thing?
kind of, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and it's fantastic. But then I was reminded, thanks to my list, that also this year brought us Bloodhounds, which is genuinely one of the greatest things that I've seen like lately. It was one of those shows again that, thinking back on it, it was really difficult to get through the first episode. Because while I enjoyed the characters and I enjoyed the stories that they set up, which was like, these are both young guys served in the army, doing boxing, trying to get their
Young
family.
men in Korea served in the army.
Yes, trying to get their families out of debts, and it's like a very heart-wrenching story already. But for some reason, it didn't click at first because I wasn't sure like what are we gonna do with this, like how it's gonna get more difficult for them and whatever. It gets so much more difficult for them. And the only reason I got back to it is that I saw a clip on TikTok that was taken out from episode 5, and I was like, I need to get there, because it was like a 15-second clip, and it was so brilliant. And then I started like tearing up during that 15 seconds. And then I got back into it, and I was like on board from the first second of episode 2. And it's very brutal. I will put it out there. Like, it's the fights, everything. There's an episode that's just like completely heartbreaking, because I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna spoil it because I'm hoping that people are gonna be like, oh, interesting, I'm gonna watch it. They built it up so brilliantly, and these 2 guys are working so well together as, okay, first I hated you, now you're my best friend, and now you're my brother for life. By the end, it was just it's just perfect. I don't know if they're going to do a season 2. It was implied kind of that maybe there's going to be a season 2. This is the kind of TV show where I will say that it doesn't need a season 2, as much as I absolutely love them. But who knows? Maybe we're going to get a season 2. If we do, I won't complain. But I love this first season. So Bloodhounds is number 2.
Okay.
Number 1.
Number 1, truly, I feel like if anybody's paying attention, probably won't be too much of a surprise. It's Succession season 4.
Yes, it's not surprising.
It's right here.
Yes.
It's why I picked the background in the first place.
Yes.
It is genuinely some of the best television I've ever fucking seen. Every week was like another like smack in the face, but in the best way. Truly some career best performances from everybody involved. Jeremy Strong really does act his fucking ass off in this entire season. And I'm saying this again, I've said this before, I'm saying it right to the camera. If Kieran Culkin does not get the Emmy for this fucking season, it will be a crime. he knocks it out of the park. He's
Mm.
my favorite part of this entire season. The point it gets to in this episode, which is the second last episode of the show, is like it was so inevitable, but it was stunning to witness. He does this speech in episode 5, I think, with against one of the Skarsgårds. um
Steven?
no, I think it's Alex.
Alex, yes.
Yeah,
There's
it
an
is Alex. I
Alex.
was trying to remember if it was Alex or Alec or the Skarsgård, where he does this fucking like rant. Hang on, rant. I'm sorry, I say rant and people get really annoyed at me because they're like, "That's not how you say that word." Rant.
Wait, hold on. I have to go back. Is it Alexander Skarsgård or
Alexander Skarsgård. It is.
okay. Okay.
I
Then
was
it
saying
is
they're
him.
like, nobody calls him Alex, do they? That's where I'm getting
No,
confused here.
yeah,
It's
it's
Alexander
Alexander.
Skarsgård.
Yeah, okay. Go on.
It's Alexander Skarsgård, who is like such an interesting villain for that whole season. And Sarah Snook, like, is like her fucking micro expressions are unparalleled,
Mm,
frankly. She does something in episode 3 that is just heartbreaking. I watched episode 3, which kind of has become kind of infamous at this point, after I got back from Amsterdam back in April, and I was so ill. I was just like, I had the worst cold. I had a
mm.
terrible cold sore on my lip. I just felt like death. And I got home mid-afternoon after traveling all day, and I just like got into my pajamas and curled up in bed, and then just sobbed for an hour because of this episode, which you just aren't expecting because it's Succession and they're all terrible people. But I'm also like, I'm feeling really bad for all these people actually.
Yeah.
Um, it just came so brilliantly full circle, and Jesse Armstrong's a fucking genius. And every single cameraman on that show should deserves an Emmy of their own, because the work that they do in like creating some of the humor and also some of the drama, don't get
Mm,
me wrong,
mm.
is phenomenal. I really hope at some point you get around to watching it. I'm aware I've gone out of focus.
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go.
I really hope that you get around to watching it at some point, because it is genuinely some of the best television that we've had in decades.
Thing is, I think I now know why I am more drawn to Korean TV shows
Mm.
currently. And I think it's because people I keep throwing around, like with a lot of shows, not just with Succession, that this is the best thing you ever watch. You know, I see it on Twitter and everything.
There's no what's the word, hype around the stuff that you're watching, or expectation when you're going into it,
Well, there might be. I
but you're not
might just not
feeling it.
be, yeah, I'm just not
That's what I'm
feeling it.
getting at.
Yeah. I think it's like, you know, and the other thing is that the storytelling methods of the Korean TV shows are just working much better for me currently. Like, you know, and it's like, don't yell at me and, you know, don't hate on me. But I'm like, I'm missing some of the things that are now like icky for American TV shows, because they want to be progressive and they want to be, you know, okay, we understand you all and whatever. Like, you know, at this point, we're at the point where there are not really great love stories
Mm.
anymore. And I never thought that I'm gonna be the one who's gonna be like, oh, I kind of miss that, you know. And I think I kind of do, because basically all of these Korean TV shows that I watched had one way or another some kind of great love story in there, and they weren't afraid to go into it, like how fragile it can be and whatever. And I miss that from American TV shows currently, where it's like, you know, why are we afraid of love? And it shows in animation as well. Like, you know, I'm like, what, why?
I will point out that there's again, in the sort of, I've mentioned them before, but Verily Bitchy has a great video on bisexual representation and the importance of it being not perfect. And I think that's part of the issue that we've got going on, where everybody's like, we want to be as like good as possible. It's like, stop making characters good and just make them interesting.
Yeah.
If they're like fucked up and stupid and like, you know, express their sexuality in a way that is like not like, you know, completely perfect, that makes for much more interesting characters. And we also need to be teaching audiences how to like watch that sort of thing again, because just so many people are so afraid of the idea of like their audience getting annoyed at their characters having genuine conflict. Like, make conflict. This show is about conflict. It's all
Yeah.
conflict.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're all terrible people, and you really care about them by the end.
Yeah. And I honestly believe that it's great, and I especially believe you on that matter. But I'm like, I have a fatigue currently towards American or any other kind than Korean at the moment. I don't know. I probably get back into it, like, because there are a lot of shows for next year that I'm interested in and are not Korean. So I'm like, yeah, who knows? Who knows what the future holds? Maybe next year is going to be the year when I will watch Succession. You can never know. One can never know.
I want to also just real quick, if you do watch Succession, because this is the thing I go into all the time. If people are getting into Succession, the first, I want to say like 3 episodes are like fine. I actually watched the first 2 episodes and then didn't watch it for fucking ages after that point, because I just was like, this is okay, I guess. If you're feeling interested in it by episode 4, but you're not sure yet, keep going at least until episode 6. Because if you're not in by episode 6, I don't think you'll be in for the rest of the show.
Fair.
But like, if you're in if you buy in episode 6, then you have to keep going.
Yeah, fair. All right, my number one is
Your number one.
It's not going to be surprising to anyone who listens to us. It's Sweet Home 2.
I was gonna say, it was like, I feel like if you don't mention it, it would be kind of weird.
Yeah, no, it is Sweet Home 2. I know I said that, it's like a very, it feels like very much as a mid-season, but I'm like, I don't care. It was fantastic. I watched it again since then, when I was drawing Homelander, which was like, a nice undertone there. I listened to the Hungarian.
By the way, managed to, like, because I know what your schedule's like at the moment.
Yeah.
It is insane to me that you managed to make that picture in how much you're doing at the moment. Like, I don't know where you found the time.
It's during the night. It's like I become a night owl and I'm like, I'm gonna do this now. And I did it. Like, I've been very tired. Don't ask. I got way too excited that Anthony Starr replied to one of my tweets within 2 seconds.
She's for going to sleep.
But yeah, anyway, it is Sweet Home 2. It's like, it didn't disappoint. It elevated everything that I loved in the first season. I do miss some of my babies. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, but it was beautiful, and I can't wait for season 3. And I still hope that that's going to be the final season, because I think it would be a perfect like trilogy of storytelling. Yes, that's what I'm getting in. So yeah, Sweet Home 2 is my number 1.
Sweet.
And I haven't watched That's Game, which I think is going to be a very big contender for this. But they also just put up Happiness, which I always wanted to watch, so I'm watching Happiness now. Anyway, it can change. That's all I'm saying. If That's Game is the big one as they promise it to be, yes.
Sorry. I'm just going to mention my little, because I wrote a lot of shows down for the best TV shows.
Yes.
And even like best TV shows, technically speaking, or just one that I remember what I watched this year and went, oh shit, that was also really good. So I've got Loki season 2.
Yes.
Doctor Who, all of the 60 specials.
Yes.
The Last of Us came out this year. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
Good Omens, which we also talked about, and I did love. And now we've got sorry, I just dropped my pen. We have confirmed season 3 we're getting. So we're getting an ending to the entire show, because
yes.
And also The Legend of Vox Machina season 2 dropped this year.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh.
I know. It's like this year's been so long.
I told you this year is very weird, like time-wise and everything. It's just weird.
And I had to mention that because they're my babies.
Yeah. Yes, obviously. My honorable mentions are Blue Eye Samurai, which was fucking fantastic.
Really good things about that, yeah.
Yeah, it's very good. The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart was brilliant. I really, really enjoyed it. Loki season 2, obviously. And then quickly I will go King the Land, which is also a Korean TV show. I watched many that were made not in 2023, so I'm not going to mention those.
Yeah, I didn't mention anything that it wasn't made, or at least didn't come out in 2023.
Bridgerton, Queen Charlotte's story is my favorite Bridgerton story, so I really enjoyed that one. And it was really well made and very well acted. And that's it. I think that's it. Yeah. Oh, and Ginny and Georgia season 2. Fucking love Ginny and Georgia. I'm so glad that they are renewed for 2 more seasons. I'm
I
like,
didn't
yes.
know that Ginny and George was so popular
Oh,
because I've not
fucking love
really
them.
heard anything about it other than like I know the people who have seen it really like it, but like every
Fucking
time I'm
love
like,
Ginny and Georgia.
God, a lot of people watch this show. It's like one of
Yes.
the top ones on the Netflix list.
Yeah. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I'm like, it's
I
such a
had
good
no
show.
idea. It's kind of interesting.
It's very good. And The Last of Us, obviously. I do have problems with The Last of Us. I already talked about it. I'm not going to talk about it again. Watch The Rest of Us on Couch Soup. Anyway, let's
Yeah,
get into...
they've got issues, but it was still a really good series.
It is a pretty good series. I'm not going to say it's bad. Like, it's not what I'm getting at. I just have issues with it. Anyway, let's go to the top
Movies?
3 worst movies that you watched this
Okay.
year.
Yeah, again, this is very much a disappointment list. So we're going to
Yes.
start with the movie that I technically think is a very good movie, but I was massively disappointed by, which is
Yes.
Barbie. Um
Yes.
so I don't think we really need to go over it too much again because we said all this in our Barbenheimer review.
Yes.
Plug.
We did that as well.
um but yeah, it's just like it was a movie that like I'm very glad spoke to a lot of people in the way that it did. Just didn't work for me in many, many ways. Um and it's it just I don't know, just didn't, it's not made for me. And that's fine. But like it also is like it's just so first level feminism, which really just gets on my goat a lot of. But I'm really glad that a lot of people felt seen watching it. That I will not take that away from people.
Yeah, no.
But
No,
it did
definitely
disappoint
not.
me this year.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. My number 3 is Murder Mystery 2, because I enjoyed the first one. I think it was fun. I think it's always fun when Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston do something together. So I'm like, I wish this would have been better, and it's not. It's I'm very. I was very. I was.
It isn't.
It's. I tried. I really tried. I was like, okay, if it's gonna be the same silliness as they put into the first one, but it's still got a heart, then we're good. It's not. It doesn't have a heart anymore. It's just let's be more stupid than we were previously.
Yeah, that tends to happen a lot in these sorts of things.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh well, it's a disappointment. What can we do about it? Number 2.
Number 2, I put 65 on.
Oh.
Yeah. See, that's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. Because you were like, "Oh, good dinosaurs! We have to go watch this."
Yeah.
And we both did, and then went, "That wasn't very good."
No. Yeah. True. I didn't put it on the list because dinosaurs.
But yeah, it wasn't great though.
I know.
I don't really have much to say about it. Those last 15 minutes, as we did a whole review on it. You can go watch that on
Yes, we did
channel
that.
early on. Yeah, the last 15 minutes of it are what the whole entire movie should have been, and it wasn't, and it was kind of a shame.
It is. It is. It could have been so good.
Do you know
So
it's really
good.
funny? I've written for these 3 movies. I've written going down mid disappointed. That's how I written. It's just like
Fair.
that's
Fair.
the vibe of all of them. So we'll get to
Yeah.
my next mid one. My top mid one of the year, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, 65 mid.
Yeah.
That's my review.
Fair. I will quickly say that I've been saying this for many, many years now, on this podcast as well, that we need a survivor horror dino movie, and we're gonna get a survivor horror dino game for Jurassic Park, the survival. I was so happy when they announced that at the Game Awards. I was like, fuck yeah!
It's funny. I mean, to be fair, it was like 3 in the morning by the time that came up, because I watched all the entirety of the Game Awards live. Didn't even occur to me to be like, I was like, oh, Jurassic Park game. Well, just like completely.
Yeah, but I'm
oh,
like,
of course that's
I
something you'd be
literally
really
just bought
interested
this.
in.
Yeah. I'm like, I just bought Jurassic Park stuff. I ordered the Jurassic Park script that's coming out now. I'm like, fuck yeah, please be good. I'm so excited. Anyway, my number 2 is, once again, I was in like, should I put this on here? Because it's obviously shit. So I'm like, it's not surprising. It's The Flash.
I didn't even watch it.
It is shit. Like, first of all, that fucking idiot Ezra Miller should be out of business already. Like, the fact that he was...
They should be in jail. They
Yeah.
really should be in jail.
Yeah. Like,
I'm happy that they're getting, help, and as they should. But that movie, like, considering how much stuff that Warner Brothers, just decided not to put out this year.
yeah. And
Come
it's
on.
just like, it's bad to look at. Like, the CGI is shit. The acting is very mid, except for Michael Keaton, who's always great. And it's like, it's just bad. Done. End of sentence.
End of sentence.
It's bad. And I am now regretting watching it. That's it. And the true
I didn't
Barry
even know
Allen.
you'd seen it.
I did watch it. I was bored at one point, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna watch it now. But the if you want to do something with the Flash, bring back Grant Gustin.
I was going to say, Grant Gustin has been doing it for so long, and he kind of has that
Yeah,
character down at this point. It's like,
yeah, he's
come
he's
on.
the best. He's the best. Number one.
Number one. And I think we kind of went over this in our review of it as well. I put Ant-Man, the Quantumania. I'm gonna be. It was mid. It was the most mid movie.
I like that, man. I don't, Yes, go ahead.
Mid. I don't know. I don't really have much more to say about it. It was just like it was so unpolished and like just it was just mid. There's a lot going on with it. I don't really have anything else to say. That's how
Okay.
like not great it was.
Okay. My number one is the Nun 2. Mostly because I was like, I had problems with the first Nun movie, but like this one was like, let's grab all the things that people had problem with in the first one and do them again. And I'm like, why?
Cool.
Why would you do this? And the fact that they you know, thankfully they brought back Thaisa Farmiga, who's the sister of Vera Farmiga. I'm always confused if they are sisters or mother daughter, but they are sisters. Are they? I think so.
I don't know who these
I don't know.
people
I'm
are.
like so confused. Anyway, but like it's good that they back. Frenchie's back. Whatever, it's great. But I feel like there was more in here, and they could have like literally connected it to the Conjuring storyline because Frenchie is obviously connected to the Warrens as well. But like they didn't, and the scares weren't scary that much. I think that was one time where I was like, oh fuck, and that's it. Disappointing. But I kind of expected it to be disappointing, but still, it was disappointing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I struggled with this one just because I only really saw the movies I saw in the cinema. I saw a lot of movies that didn't come out this year in the cinema, and also I liked them all. So
That's good.
I was kind of struggling. But Ant-Man was the first one that came up. I was like, yeah, no, that was mid. That was the first one I saw this year. I was like, meh. Eh.
Anyway, let's do the top 3 best movies of the
Best
year.
Woohoo.
What's your number 3, my
My
friend?
number 3, probably not on a whole lot of people's best movie list, but I really, really loved it.
Go ahead.
I put on Asteroid City. Which
Interesting.
is yeah, Wes Anderson's new movie. I saw it in the cinema, and it's really funny. There were 2 women who sat behind me. It was like the 3 of us in the entire
Yeah.
cinema. It was quite a small cinema anyway, but like there was only 3 of us in there. I loved it a lot. There's a lot in it that I really love. There's an entire sequence in it that I literally didn't stop thinking about for like a good week or so after. And so it still pops into my brain every once in a while, where I was like, that just like the dialogue in it, I adored. And I think everybody in it is really fun. And I think it's a lovely movie. Obviously it's visually gorgeous because it's a Wes Anderson movie. But a lot of people, I know it didn't work for them because they found it being very flat in places, and like it didn't. I don't know. I think they were looking for bigger emotions from it, but actually, I love how quiet it is. It's a very meandery sort of film, but I really like meandery sorts of films.
Okay.
It felt like the perfect encapsulation of like that kind, like the thing I love about like when I say that I love kind of mid indie budget films, where I like 3-star movies, it is that in it like it very much it felt like that to me. But I really loved everything that he did with it. Yeah, I didn't stop thinking about it for a really long time.
Okay.
I just think it's lovely.
Fair. Like, especially I find it interesting because I just saw it on one of the big outlets worst movies of
I know a
2023
lot of
list.
people didn't like it at all. But
Yeah.
like I honestly those people I'm like, I don't think you understood the movie.
I haven't seen it, so I can't talk on it, and I
Mm.
don't really like Wes Anderson. That's the other thing. So I'm like, I'm probably not gonna watch it. That's the whole truth of it. All right. Oh, I struggled with this so much. Like, this was the struggle for me. Like, which one do I put here? So I decided on this one. My number 3 is Oppenheimer.
Interesting. That's way lower than I thought it was going to be.
I know. There are a lot of surprising things in here. I really loved it. And, because I love Nolan, first of all, that's like very important to know. I fucking love Killian, who's just, he should be winning everything. I'm not even gonna.
Yeah, he is a shoo-in for best actor this year. We'll
Yeah,
just be real.
yeah. He really should be. It was very good. I already expressed that conversation has to really work in order for me to enjoy a movie that's basically just conversation upon conversation upon conversation
I
about
mean,
big
yes, it
things and
really
huge
is the
things.
basis of a thing
Yes,
that needs to like be good.
yes,
You know me, I love movies that just have people talking in rooms. It's kind of
yeah,
my favorite thing.
yes. And that's like, they nailed it, and I loved it, and I enjoyed it, and I think it's brilliantly done. But yeah, it's number 3. It's number 3 because there were 2 things that I just enjoyed a lot more this year, so I put them above. But I still really love Oppenheimer. I think it's fucking brilliant. Your
Yeah,
turn
fair enough.
with number 2.
Do you want to see my number 2?
Yeah.
My number 2 is Oppenheimer. Interesting. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I put it up. Honestly, my first 2 were kind of really, really easy. I loved Oppenheimer. I think I said everything I really needed to say about it again in our Barbenheimer review.
Yes.
Uh, it is. I think like I said, I love movies where people sit in rooms and talk.
Yeah.
For hours and hours. I think it did it perfectly. I've said it in the review. The last hour of that movie is a horror film, and it is so effective. And it was just, I think it was just so, yeah, brilliantly done.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really is brilliant. I have my issues with it. I do think that like, there's like things in it that I'm like, actually I would have preferred more about this. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of that comes from the decision that he made to be very, it's very singularly about Oppenheimer. So it means that any other character that you're kind of like, oh, this person feels a bit underdeveloped, comes from the fact that it's such a like tight
Yeah.
angle on the character that he's discussing. And whether that works or doesn't work is, up to everybody's interpretation. And I think all the criticisms that came out from like the fact that was are very valid. And I can understand why people, would have issues about certain parts of it. For those reasons. But like, yeah, it's still fucking brilliant cinema.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I really sat in the cinema afterwards because, like, I did the whole. We both did the whole thing when we watched both of them. I sat through the entire credits, really sitting there like trying to like put it together, and I'm being like, I had to get out of the seat, go pee, and then get ready for Barbie.
Yeah. I was the other way around, but yeah.
You get to sit with it for quite long because usually in a movie like that, I would have gone sat in my car for half an hour to just be like, okay, what do I actually feel about this sort of thing? And I didn't have the amount of time I would have usually taken to do that. And then I got out of Barbie and I was like, just like slightly irritated. For the people listening, I made a face.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I loved Oppenheimer, so it was fun. Yeah, it's great. It's great TV. I've asked for it for Christmas. TV, movies. It's great cinema.
Yeah,
That's what I meant.
Cinema. It is cinema.
It's great cinema.
Yes. I love the news that came in that physical media is not dead, and it sold out on in Best Buy and Amazon.
I think it's because Nolan is doing the thing that I wish more people would, pardon me, do. Because it's the thing I always loved about DVD extras. Nobody puts any effort into DVD extras anymore.
Yeah.
I love DVD extras.
Yeah.
Give me 3 hours of bonus content. We all want it.
Yeah. All right. My number 2 is something that might be surprising, but not if you know me and if you know my taste. It's No One Will Save You.
Oh yeah. No, that's fair.
That movie was such a genuine surprise and so fucking good. Like, I said this after I watched it, and I said this on this podcast, that it was genuinely the first time for a very long time where I was like, holding on to their life and be like, fucking move, and things like that. So I was really, really in it, and it was the kind of horror movie that I've been missing ever since the last Quiet Place movie came out, which wasn't a long time ago. I know, don't yell at me, but like, you know, I need more of that. I need that like genuine like tension and just what's gonna happen next kind of feeling that you have in there, especially when you see things before the character sees them and you're like, fucking turn around please. I miss that, and it was brilliantly done. And everything in it was brilliant, but the greatest thing in it is that there's no dialogue at all, and it works so perfectly. Just And it was a struggle to like, because I really wanted it on my list, but the first two lists that I wrote, it's not on there, and I was like, I'm missing something from here. I was missing No One Will Save You, so it's on the list now.
Cool.
All right,
Fair
we
enough.
arrived to the number one best movie for you this year.
I'm curious if you like. Do you have any inkling of what you think it might be?
Not really.
No.
No, I'm not sure.
Okay, I was just curious if you might have like a guess. I don't know. It's not like a huge upset or anything like that. I was just like curious if you had any like inkling about it. It's Past Lives for me.
Oh, okay.
I loved that movie. I'm desperate to watch it again. It is just like Celine Song for her first film. It's
Yeah.
bonkers how fucking beautiful it is. It is so stunning. I was explaining the plot of it to a friend of mine the other day, and I was just like thinking about all the little bits and pieces in it that are so integral to like the characters and the fact that it makes space for everybody in that movie. Like the three main players, nobody is demonized. It's just like it's about the complication, how complicated it is to have like an old love and a new love, and
Yeah.
feeling like you know somebody for a really long time, but like it just didn't work out in this sort of lifetime, and that maybe will be something to each other in another lifetime. Aggressively is phenomenal in this film, and it just surprised me. There were so many moments in it where I thought it was going to do something really cliche, but it never did. Yeah, the last shot of that movie also really got me. Like I was kind of sitting there going, I'm not as emotional about this as I really thought it was going to. But the very end just like it like slammed into me like properly. It's brilliant. It's
a very good
just a
movie.
really great film. And one that I feel like a lot of people probably would have easily missed. So
Oh yeah, probably.
if you can get your hands on it legally, actually,
Yes.
like if you can buy it anywhere, I would really recommend it because I think they deserve
yeah.
money.
Yes. Agreed. I like
Yes,
that
it's
choice.
wonderful.
I struggled with the first one
Mm.
a lot. There were four really big contenders for it, but I have to stay true to myself, and it's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, because those are my babies, and I love them very dearly, and I love the send off that they got from James, and I think it was beautiful, and I think all the emotions were where they needed to be, and it was just good. I had fun with it. I cried on it. I love that they focus so much on Rocket and it's their friendships and all that. And I honestly think that these three Guardians movies are on the same page as the three Captain America movies, or in my honest opinion, the three new Spider-Man movies, which I just think they are just perfect as they are. I wouldn't change anything about them. And it also had Will Poulter.
Well, Poulter was just an immediate win, always.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, he's in it. Done.
Great. Perfect.
So, yeah. And And I will do honorable mentions now because
I only have one honorable mention just because I feel
then
if
do
you're going to get
yours
into
first.
it. My honorable mention is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. I nearly put this on instead of Asteroid City, and then I kind of went for Asteroid City because I think that one had more heart for me. But I fucking loved I saw Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning twice. It's really good.
You did, yeah,
It's
I
a
remember.
really fun action movie. The last hour of that film is one of the tensest things I've ever seen in my goddamn life.
Fair, fair.
It's just so fun. I love the Mission Impossible films. Do I think it's the best Mission Impossible? Probably not, but it's real good.
Fair.
But
Alrighty,
that's it.
the honorable mentions that were contending for the first place. First of all, these three were Across the Spider-Verse, which is fucking brilliant. Nimona, which if you haven't watched on Netflix, do it immediately. It's such an important story, so beautiful.
Shout out to Andy Stevenson.
Yes. And the third one might be surprising, but not really. Once again, if you know me, it's Dungeons and Dragons, which was
Yeah, no, that's fair.
fucking brilliant. I love that movie so much. It has so much heart, so much fun. I just love everything about it. So I was like, oh, I really want to put it on the list.
That was really wonderful. I did look at it and go, oh, that is a really good movie.
It's
I'm going to add it to my honorable mentions list as well. I saw a couple of movies right at the beginning of the year because I was kind of catching up on a lot of the Oscar contenders.
Yes.
But a lot of them came out like the year before in America, but they did technically come out here. I would also maybe put Tar on my list because like that was right at the beginning of the year, and I thought it was brilliant. It's a really good movie.
It is brilliant.
Yeah,
very true. True. And the last honorable mention is Unlocked, which I screamed about already many times.
That's the one by the guy who's searching, right? Or no, that's the Korean
that's Missing.
one.
That's the Korean
Missing.
one.
That's the Korean. I'm
Missing
there.
was
I
also
got it.
brilliant. You got it. Missing was also brilliant. But yeah, Unlocked is the Korean movie. It's on Netflix, available for all to watch. Highly recommended. It's fucking nerve-wracking. It's a genuine horror without being a horror movie, basically. But it's like, it's so real and so realistic that it's like, freak me the fuck out. Brilliantly done. Love that movie so much. I will rewatch it at one point when I am not that afraid of it. But yeah, I will also say it's just like in theory, because fuck you, Hungary. Fucking hate it here. But I haven't seen Godzilla -1, and I have a feeling.
I've heard really good things about it.
Yes, I have a feeling that if I have seen that movie, this list would be very different. And that's how I will close off this entire talk. And I will say to all of you, dear listeners and watchers, however you choose to, consume us. Yes. Have a wonderful holiday time. Enjoy the new year, and we will be back in January. And we wish you all the best. And thank you for coming along this journey with us so far. And let's do even more.
Yeah, I've pushed for some pretty some movies that I want to review next year.
Yes.
Which I'm very much looking forward to. But annoyingly, they're out everywhere else at the moment, but they're not out over in Europe until the new year. One of which I'm really annoyed about because it's technically a Christmas film.
Yeah, we're gonna get around it. We're gonna get around it.
But yeah, we've got some stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very exciting stuff coming. We're going to start off January talking about the most anticipated things, and then we get right into it, into Echo, which now comes out on January 9th. All 5 episodes.
Oh,
very
I was going to say the whole thing at once.
Yeah, whole thing at once. Very excited for it. The new trailer just got me even hyped. So I'm like, Anyway, we love you all. Thank you for listening and watching. Don't forget to subscribe, promote us to your friends if they like movies and TV shows and whatnot. And we love you all. And watch movies.
Watch movies, guys.